So police have added extra security detail for IFP President Velenkosini Hlabisa. This follows reports that his life may be in danger amid an alleged assassination threat. The leader of the party and provincial party chairperson, Thami Ntuli, seemed to be at loggerheads over the leadership of the IFP ahead of the elections in 2024. Political analyst Professor Bheki Mngomezulu is standing by to weigh in on the matter. Prof, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. It is being suggested that the threat comes from within the party. What is your understanding or reading of these events?
Thank you very much for having me, my sister, and good afternoon to your viewers. This is very concerning indeed, not just because it concerns Mr. Velenkosini Hlabisa, but because it concerns politicians, and in this case, this politician whose name has been mentioned is based in KwaZulu-Natal, where we've seen a number of politicians being eliminated. In this case, it happens at the wrong time because we know that the stability within the IFP is currently not at its best. You just mentioned, a lead statement that there were concerns that Velenkosini Hlabisa might be challenged by Thami Ntuli. That is just one issue. But even before that, when in 2021, the IFP was having an agreement with the ANC, the leader of the IFP, Mr. Velenkosini Hlabisa, was challenged from within, others saying that he took that decision without consulting them, which is quite unlikely. So something must have happened there, which is the reason why then that particular working relationship had to be aborted. And now we hear that the IFP has a working relationship, at least for service delivery, with the DA. As to whether that one will be sustained, then we'll wait and see. But the reality of the matter is, closer to an election, there will be these kinds of incidences. And if it happens within the party, then that is a major concern. It's better if it's inter-party squabbles. If it's intra-party squabbles, it's even more dangerous because you cannot see the enemy coming until the act has been committed. In this case, we must be happy that the police have picked this up on time, which is why they're beefing up security. As a precautionary measure, it should be applauded.
You mentioned that the stability of the IFP is not at its best at the moment. What does that mean? No,
like I was just indicating that at the moment we see this thing happening, but in 2021 already, there were people who were having issues with the leader, which shouldn't be the case. You recall that some people were asking the question as to why on the build-up to the 2021 local government election, the IFP still had the face of its former leader, Nkosi Mangosuthu. There was an explanation from the organization, or an official explanation, saying that they were dedicating the election to Nkosi Mangosuthu, which didn't seem to be a problem. But then the issue here is that we are dealing with leaders on the one hand, and we are dealing with supporters on the other hand. As much as that explanation was satisfactory, but then there are people who might not have read it that way, and then they might have seen this as a way of indicating that Mr. Hlabisa is not being welcomed by everyone, which would then cause a problem. And then, of course, as I was saying, that you also heard that when Mr. Hlabisa was using his position as the leader of the party to look at possibilities to bring stability in the province, one of them was to forge relations with the ANC, which relationship then, as I say, was short-lived. And there were also talks that the deputy president, Mr. Buthelezi, not the prime minister, the former leader of the party, Nkosi Buthelezi, who is an MP, there was an issue that, in fact, himself and also the SG, Mr. Ngobo, don't agree with some of the decisions that are taken by the party through the leader, that is Mr. Velenkosini Hlabisa. So if those speculations are true, then it means that there is something that needs to be done within the organization before the 2024 general election. And the last point, of course, is that there was also a statement that the IFP was open that it was not going to forge any formal relationship with the DA before the 2024 general election. But now already they have a form of an agreement, although they are calling this a service delivery pact. The fact that they are working together then means that there are things that are showing you that there is some inconsistency.
Is it fair to expect the former leader of the party to say or do something?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that Nkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi is a seasoned politician generally, but then he's the oldest member of the party, being its founder also. He's an elder statesman. So therefore, I would say yes, because he then has wisdom, political wisdom, to be able to bring stability. But then I will also say no, given the fact that you now have a current leader in Velenkosini Hlabisa, so we would expect him to have ascended into the stage, and then of course he should be the one making sure that there is political stability. If ever he needs advice, it's him that has to go to Nkosi Mangosuthu Buthelezi and seek advice, and not the fact that Buthelezi must then come back and try to resolve the issues. Because if we were to do that, some will interpret this as someone who is not willing to let go, which will then also send other messages, and that would not help the organization. So I think yes and no for the reasons I've just spoken.
Sure. Why is the unity of the IFP important, given the history of not only this country but the province?
It's very important simply because you know that in the 1990s we were made to believe that the violence that took place there was between the ANC and the IFP, which was not necessarily correct, because we know now that there were people from outside who were orchestrating that violence for their own political end, more especially those who were in the old order, the apartheid government. And then, of course, the other reason is that recently we have seen a number of politicians being killed in KwaZulu-Natal across all political parties, mainly in the ANC, but also some in the IFP, some in the ANFP. So we have seen some political instability recently, and therefore if we were to have instability in the IFP, then of course that will be a cause for concern. Because if someone were to be killed in the IFP, you wouldn't necessarily know whether the enemy came from within or came from outside the organization. So it's quite critical, therefore, that they try to arrest the situation before it escalates.
Thank you very much, Professor Bheki Mngomezulu, for your time this afternoon.